My name is Paul Gibson. Welcome to my ETICOMP2021 presentation, which is on developing an educational brick for digital ethics, a case study-driven approach. I'd just first like to thank my co-authors, which are Yal Jacob, Damon Gordon, and O'Sullivan. The presentation today is going to be quite short, so we're going to do a very quick background and motivation, just talking about the European project in which this work is being done. I'm going to give a quick overview of the brick template structure, which we're using to help build the bricks, and the different classifications that we want to help people to search for bricks and to store bricks inside our database. So as I said, this work is done as part of the Ethics for EU Erasmus Plus European project, and the project is focused on providing teaching material or assistance to teachers in order to better teach digital ethics to their students. The project objectives cover deliverables, research reports, instructor guides, platforms, etc. And this presentation is mainly about the educational material, the actual educational bricks that we're developing, and a little bit about the platform that we're going to be using to deploy and develop these bricks. Motivation behind the work is just helping teachers to be able to teach digital ethics better than they currently are. Our goal is not just to give independent reusable modules that are going to be standalone, but to actually help to integrate digital ethics and to weave it throughout the programs and different modules. We want to encourage students to be empathetic and to think about the fact that the systems that they're working on are in the environment, they have human users, they can have an impact on society. We want to produce reusable, extensible learning objects that are open in terms of the ability to reuse them and to adapt them. And we want to produce some things that are driven by case studies, so real industrial case studies, which are highly motivating for the students. And the four images are just sort of the kind of mix that we're following is the idea of being able to join together Lego bricks with freedom to connect them in any way that we want. Like a jigsaw puzzle, the different pieces have got standard forms that can mean that they may plug together. We want it to kind of be algorithmic in the sense that the teachers can, like in Scratch, we see this brick for programming. The idea being is that we can put bricks together, not just in sort of a sequence, but put them together in branches and trees, as sort of a logical fashion. And it's a little bit like cooking. Although we're going to provide recipes, most good cooks will adapt recipes and to change them to their own needs. And so that's the kind of the four main reasons for having those images. So this slide is just showing you what our default template looks like for the different educational bricks that we're producing. This one is actually for the dark patterns in user interface design, which is developed in Dublin, our Dublin partners at TUD. And you can see the bricks themselves are very simple. There are some keywords, there are some sorting, classification words that are used to help classify the different material that's being presented, and there are a table of contents, which is the contents which will be directly usable or reusable by the teachers. So there's an instructor guide, there'll be slides, there'll be assignments, samples, different in-class activities, take-home activities, and various interactive contents, for example, like videos, audios, blogs, and references to books and traditional research articles. The main thing is everything is driven by different case studies, which will examine where dark patterns have actually caused problems in real life with some real life studies. Particular slides also shows that you can develop bricks without having to use the standard template. This is the site that I've developed for my own teaching of the Smart Pills Electronic Bills brick as part of a software engineering course. And what has actually happened is I've developed my own site with my own material and my own structure, but then we are developing tools which will allow such material to be mapped onto our standard default template. And then so we'll have some way of having the allowing teachers to present their material in their own way and yet add them into our database in a structured fashion so that they're easier for other teachers to find and to reuse. Dimensions used to classify the different bricks is the actual classification based on the ethical issue that's being addressed. As part of the Ethics Free European project, we have already developed a very high-level classification, which was presented in Deliverable 2, which is freely available to download from the website. And this basically categorizes it into the origins of digital ethics, digital ethics values, data ethics, AI ethics, ethics for pervasive computing, ethics for social media, governance and legal issues, and finally professional ethics. We found that while we were building the bricks and looking at the case studies, we needed a finer level of granularity. And so we based the second type of classification on the keywords that were identified by the teachers that were developing the educational material. And so this has a much larger keyword list in the database, which is used to classify it, and it includes words like AI, autonomy, fairness, discrimination, privacy, safety, hacking, etc. Dimension in which we will be classifying the educational bricks is with respect to the academic domain or subject that's being addressed. Classification of knowledge areas is actually quite a complex task, particularly in computer science, software engineering, computer engineering. And so rather than inventing something new, we decided that in our database we would allow the classification to be based on already existing schemes. And for the moment we have incorporated 4 classification schemes, one which is the ACM computing curriculum, the second is the IEEE curriculum for software engineering body of knowledge, the third is based on the European Research Council's way of classifying research in computer science and computing areas. And the final is based on the foundational ICT body of knowledge, which is the e-skills classification. As well as the classification which is done with the ethical aspects and the academic classification, we also wanted to classify the different bricks by the area or application domain. So that'd be something like health, transport, etc. And as with the academic domain classification, we didn't want to invent something new as certain classifications exist already. So 3 recommended classifications which we can use in terms of classifying these case studies are the Global Industrial Classification Standard, the Industrial Classification Benchmark, and of course the ISO standards. And the idea being is that these are already existing taxonomies with already existing keywords and classifications, and so we will just reuse them when classifying our own bricks and the application domains which are concerned by the bricks. The Ethics for EU project encourages interdisciplinary teaching, and so for each of the academic bricks in our case studies, it's very likely that the disciplines other than computing will be involved, and we actively encourage other departments to be involved in such teaching. As well as needing to classify the different dimensions in terms of the ethics, the problem domains, and the actual computing topic being addressed, there is also a need to provide additional information that will help the teachers. And this type of information is more along the lines of the administration and the academic administration of the bricks. And so this is concerned with academic load, prerequisites, specific learning objectives, which will of course be linked to the ethical and computing topics being addressed, but will also include specific details concerning the teaching and evaluation approaches and the educational material for the students and the teachers. Finally, it was thought useful to provide links to other related bricks or complementary bricks where bricks could actually be considered together or could be composed together. The Ethics for EU project is now past the middle stage of its 3 years, I think. And we have been working on 6 bricks to try and develop and deploy them. And we've been doing the design and the preliminary development of other bricks as a follow-up. But the 6 bricks that we've worked the most on are Foundations of Digital Ethics brick, a brick on smart pills, electronic pills, a brick on software certification and accreditation, professional ethics, which is going to be looking at some of the issues that arose with the transport world and the transport world with the problems with the Boeing 757 MAX and the problems with the emission scandals with Volkswagen. We're also looking at algorithmic bias in an introduction to programming class, looking at dark arts of user interface design in an HCI class, and looking at how to teach about the problems of AI and autonomous vehicles. And each of the academic partners has been involved in helping in doing these bricks. And in the rest of this presentation, I'm going to focus on the electronic smart pills brick to give you an idea of the type of work that's done in developing and deploying such a brick. As I previously said, we have 6 bricks on which we've been working during the Ethics for EU project, but the brick I'd like to focus attention on is one which I've been developing, which is on electronic pills or smart pills. This brick came about because I was working on a more advanced software engineering course with my students on the Internet of Things. We were looking at all sorts of different aspects with respect to privacy, security, etc. We stumbled on one of the students stumbled upon this article about sensors and intelligent pills that you could actually swallow, and it led to a lot of interesting discussion. And so this was where the original motivation came from. So the next 3 slides just show the way in which the web page looks like to the teachers who are going to use the IoT Smart Pills educational brick. There's a lot of information in here, but the most important thing is that this first slide just shows all the actual teaching support material that's provided, including aspects to do with academic load, prerequisites, classroom plannings, etc. This slide just shows the range of secondary material that's provided to help in the teaching of the bricks, and includes the peer-reviewed papers from conferences and workshops which address all the different dimensions of the problem being looked at. And this is just the final part of the material provided to the lecturers, the teachers, which includes books, reports, social media, popular press, blog posts, and multimedia like video and audio. So now let's just consider the situation for all the particular bricks that we've looked at. All of them have gone through a design phase and an implementation phase. I think 5 out of the 6 have been evaluated from an ethical educational point of view by external ethics experts and digital ethics people. 4 of the bricks, I think, have been deployed, which means that they have been used in teaching, and 3 of them have actually had feedback from the students and from the academics involved in delivering the material. The idea being is that this is a very small case set to begin with, but we are currently working on at least 4 or 5 other bricks and brick topics. And the idea is that we really want to build up a community of users of these bricks, people that will consume the bricks and use them, but also people that will maintain them, extend them, and develop new ones. So we are actively encouraging people, if you're interested, to come along and pick up one of these bricks, or maybe possibly more than one, and try and reuse them yourselves. We will be there to provide assistance and guidance and some sort of support for the reuse of the bricks. The second thing we'd like to see is how easy or difficult is it for other people to add already existing or new material in as a new brick to our particular system. The prototype platform that we have currently is effectively just a database with a sophisticated search and classification mechanism. And the idea being is that over a period of time with the community, this will lead to an actual almost like a GitLab repository of educational bricks where people can branch off new ideas, try off new things with an open source kind of community approach to the way in which they can be maintained and tested and extended. So to conclude, the short presentation is just reported in development of 6 of our digital ethics educational bricks. It's still very much work in progress, but we are encouraged by the results and the feedback that we've had from the initial deployment of the bricks with the teachers and with the students. I think one of the areas that we really need to work in is in the classification and the taxonomy, particularly of the ethical issues. That's something that will, I think, improve over time as we get more and more of these bricks coming in. We will get a better idea of how we can most usefully classify them for the actual teaching community. The platform is very simple at the minute. It's just a very simple front end search facility, a simple facility for leaving comments, and the back end is just a simple database. And so we need to think clearly about what sort of requirements such a platform will need to be in order for us to grow a community of academics who use the platform. And finally, the big thing really we need to do is we need to expand our initial prototype set of 6 bricks, and we need to carry out a very extensive evaluation of whether the platform and the approach that we're proposing is going to be useful to teachers in the long run. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.